Another question we got, any suggestions for adolescent with severe anxiety who rips fidgets to pieces in the course of a school day? He's able to ask for breaks and staff assist when he needs help. Yeah. That is tough, right? I mean, severe anxiety is tough. And, I think that the first question would be, okay, so if you do a functional analysis of this, you're saying it's anxiety. Is it anything else? Like, when does his anxiety appear? Is it certain days? I always say him. He said he. Is it certain days that it appears? Is it cyclical? Like, usually I work with a female, and every 28 days, she gets, for about a week, she's, suffers from anxiety, and she's, definitely more anxious during, 1 week out of the month than she is other times. It could be the same with him. It could be, in February when it's blah outside, could also be that. So take a look at that. Or is he more anxious in specific classes when there's specific teachers? Or is he more anxious towards the end of the day or the beginning of the day? So take a look at that and see if there are periods throughout the day where he's more anxious. And I'm going to assume that you've done, an operational definition on anxiety, and you're saying it's, anxiety is when he rips and fidgets and et cetera, et cetera. But analyze that anxiety more, right? So it may be escape, it may be attention, blah, 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 but I don't buy any of that. I buy more so like, let's look at when it's happening.
Yeah. And then I think, considering time and place. So, we all have somewhat anxious behaviors, but can we have an appropriate outlet? Do we know when it's appropriate? Can we, do it at a certain time in a certain location with certain paper in a certain place so that maybe it doesn't make a mess? I don't know, whatever the concerns are.
If he is suffering from a lot of anxiety, I guess my question is, does he have a lot of language? Like, what are his language skills like? So he's able to ask for breaks. Staff are able to assist when he needs help. But like, can you have a conversation with him? If you can have a conversation with him, look at the ACT stuff, like the acceptance and commitment therapy, and talk to him about, what his values are, and, how he thinks he can get closer to those values, and what's keeping him away from those values, what's making him anxious. Maybe he's able to tell you what's making him anxious. And that would be amazing if he could tell you. Is he verbal? Do you know? If he's not as verbal, or if he's not understanding that much, I guess you've got to separate that. If he's not as verbal, he still may be understanding a lot. Let's go with that right now, is that if he isn't verbal or isn't as verbal, but he does understand, you can even draw some circles out for him. Like, I would be drawing some things and saying, okay, like, I see that you feel this way. It's okay. And I think the big message is that it's okay that you feel this way. Everybody feels this way sometimes. It's okay. Here's some ways that you can handle it. And like Shira said, here's a time and a place. So, we can put together a schedule so that you can take breaks right before math class or right after math class or whenever that may need to be. If he doesn't understand at all, like if there is a limited understanding, little limited comprehension, and limited language skills, that's probably a lot harder. But I would make sure that there's a visual schedule in place. Think about all the things that cause you anxiety, right? So like, how much longer is this going to go on? How much, when does my day end, et cetera, et cetera. Making sure that there's a schedule in place, making sure that he knows exactly when tasks are going to finish, whether it's, this many more questions on a page, or whether it's like the sticky note on the digital clock back there says, this is going to end at 2:30, etc. So he's a bit verbal with limited comprehension. So lots and lots and lots of visuals in place for him to understand.